People, like, I've seen people complain about Scout's acting, but what do you expect? Of course she's going to be an emotional wreck. Like, 2 years after most of your friends got butchered, this guy nearly butchered you. You got scars all over your body from it. Like, you're not just going to be some happy-go-lucky person, are you? You're not just going to completely forget about it within 2 years. No way. Yo, what's up, brother? Welcome back. Jamie here today, and we're going to be discussing Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, which was released in 2009, direct sequel to his remake. And of course, this film, like, what can you say? People are split. Mostly people hate it. There's a few people who love it, and I'm actually one of the people who love it. So let's just get into it and talk about it. We'll start off with the story like we always do. Like I said, this is a direct sequel to his remake, so it picks up straight where the last one left off. Well, not straight away. We have a little flashback with young Michael being visited by his mum, talking about a white horse, which is going to come back into play later on, which is one of the elements I'm just going to say straight up I don't like about the film. I am a fan of this film, don't get me wrong, but there is a few things I don't actually like, and this is one of them. The white horse. Like I said, it's at the last review. Showing Michael's backstory as a kid is just too much, man. Way too much. And also we got a new actor playing Michael as well, young Michael. He's not in it that much, but it is a different actor playing him this time. So we pick up with after the events of the first one. Laura's just walking around aimlessly at the night time. All the streets are dead. She's got the gun inside her hand. She's still in shock because, you know, at the end of the last one, she shot Michael straight inside the face. So she's just walking, and eventually Sheriff Brackett finds her and takes her to the hospital. But of course, you think as soon as they go to the hospital, oh, is this going to be a remake of Halloween 2? But it's not. Literally, this hospital scene's like, what, 10 minutes or something? 10, 20 minutes, and it ends up being a dream anyway. So it's just a dream sequence, nice little homage to Halloween 2. But thankfully, the whole film don't take place inside the hospital, and Laura's not inside the bed for most of it, like she's in the original part 2, because that was one of the faults of that one, man. Laurie was barely in that film. Also, the fact I gotta point out, they show a lot of, like, Laurie took a lot of damage from the last film. She's got scars all over her face, so they have to stitch up her fingers, everything. Like, Rob Zombie does a good job of showing the damage, like the after effects of these murders and what it does to especially Laura with her PTSD, which we'll get into, but especially just the scarring as well. Like, her and Annie both of them went through so much damage. And I think that's one of the positives of this film, and it just shows you, like, the after effects. Like, in the original Halloween 2, Laurie don't even seem not bothered. And she has, like, a little scratch on her arm, that's it. In this one, like, Laurie is messed up. Michael messed her up big time, physically and emotionally. Like I said, Laurie's dealing with PTSD, and she's living out of town with Annie and Sheriff Brackett on, like, the outskirts of the town. So they all live together, and Laurie's basically having a lot of dreams, nightmares, let's say. She's in therapy as well. But yeah, it's been 2 years since the events of the first film, so they're all living together, and like I said, Laura's going through therapy and stuff. And Loomis is introduced. He's on a book tour. He's got a new book that he's written about the events of, you know, Halloween, the last film, and he's got an ego inside this film. This is not the same Loomis, let's just say it now. It's not the same Loomis you're used to from the other films, you know, the crazy old guy going out of his way to try and find Michael. This is a completely different Loomis. This guy's just got an ego. He's in it just for the money. He's appearing on talk shows. He's doing book signings, making all this money from... He's basically profiting off the story and the murders, basically. We got Michael roaming around maskless without his mask on. He's got a massive beard. Played by Tyler Mane, once again, who's a massive... He's a giant, basically. But he's walking around looking like a hobo a little bit, which is another element I don't really like. I do like the mask inside this film, which we'll get to, obviously, but... Michael just, like, aimlessly walking around with a hoodie on as well. I don't know. See, like I said, Michael's roaming about, and eventually he's on, like, this farm thing, and the landowners confront him because they've been talking about, oh, we've seen this guy, you know, roaming about for quite a bit. So they jump in it, they attack him. He goes down straight away, but then he gets back up and he puts the mask back on when he gets up, and then he goes on a murdering spree, which we'll talk about. We'll talk about the kills in the next section. But Michael is so brutal inside this film. There's no other way to put it, really. He's so brutal. So of course he kills them, and they've got a dog, and he kills the dog and he eats it as well. And while he's eating the dog, Laura's having pizza, and she ends up being sick as well. So there's that connection thing going on again, which we've seen throughout the series, especially with Jamie and Michael, but now it's Laurie and Michael. Laurie also has a dream of her killing Annie the same way that Michael killed Ronnie in the first film. You know, putting the clown mask on, the clown outfit, taping him to the chair and slitting his throat. She has the same vision of this, doing it to Anna. So Again, like I said, same elements, you know, it's sort of like a Jamie Michael situation from Halloween 5, really, if you think about it. So we'll skip ahead a bit. Eventually, Loomis, his book comes out, and he's wrote inside the book that Laurie and Michael are brother and sister. And this is how Laurie finds out. At first, Sheriff Brackett finds out, and he's trying to get hold of her, but he can't get hold of her. Eventually, she finds out, and, you know, it sends her off the deep end. She wants to start drinking, having a, you know, just going partying. She's like, I don't care anymore. So she's basically just off the chain at this point. Michael's at a strip club what his mum used to work at, and while he's like, you know, murdering him, one of the women rips off his mask at there, so it reveals his face a little bit before he ends up killing her. But I do like the look of this mask, especially when it's ripped. I mean, you know, you might think, oh, well, when they showed the eye hole in Halloween 5 and stuff, that was different. No, like this, it makes sense. Like, you know, it got ripped. It's just a mask. Of course it's going to take damage, right? Even in Halloween Kills, it's going to take damage. It's not invincible, the mask, so it makes sense, you know? One thing this film deals with quite a lot, though, is, like, trauma and of the death that's happened. Like I said, Loomis is on a book signing tour, so he's doing a book signing. And Linda's dad, one of the girls who got killed in the first one, he comes and he pulls a gun on Loomis and he's trying to kill him. Eventually we find out there was no bullets inside the gun, but it shows, that's what I mean, one of the good things about this film, it shows the after effects of the murders and like what goes on inside people's heads and how they deal with, you know, losing a loved one, really, basically. Speaking of which, losing a loved one, we'll go into Annie's death, which is one of the most emotional deaths inside this franchise, man. Daniel Harris gets absolutely butchered. We don't see it though, we get the classic Rob Zombie slow-mo as she sees Michael and starts running away, and then we just hear the commotion, like throwing about of objects, her and everything. And eventually we find, Laurie finds the body and she's completely just bleeding out everywhere. Michael has slashed her up quite a lot. Brad Dourif acting inside this, and Scout Taylor Thompson as well, I'll give her credit as well, but especially Brad Dourif though, when he finds his daughter, holy shit, man. You do feel for the guy, you definitely do. It's some of the best acting I've seen inside a horror film, no doubt. And this is another thing that's really good about this film, like the other ones are kind of lacking it. This is a way more serious film. It's brutal, but it's also serious as well. It deals with some, you know, serious shit. So the film ends in a shack. We got Michael with Laurie and Brackett's outside. Eventually Loomis arrives and runs in because, you know, he's finally realised, like, you know, I'm being a dickhead here. I need to actually take account for my actions, so he goes into the shack to try and stop Michael and save Laura. Eventually, Michael grabs Loomis, and he's speaking about slashing up. He kills Loomis. Loomis is dead. We see part of his brain and everything. Like, Michael is just slashing. But then while he's slashing, the police shoot him from outside. He falls back and he gets impaled. Then Laurie wakes up, gets Michael's knife and stabs him. She says, "I love you, brother," and then she stabs Michael. She comes out of the shack with Michael's mask on. And, you know, Sheriff Brackett's looking at her like, what? And then that's the end of the film. Laurie gets locked up inside a white room, and we finally hear the Halloween theme. The first time inside this film we hear the theme is the very end, man. Another complaint, like, you need to use that Halloween theme more often, but I understand why you didn't. So yeah, let's talk about the characters real quick. We've got Laurie, like I said. She's dealing with a lot of PTSD inside this film, man. It's really good. People, like, I've seen people complain about Scout's acting, but what do you expect? Of course she's going to be an emotional wreck. Like, 2 years after most of your friends got butchered, this guy nearly butchered you. You got scars all over your body from it. Like, you're not just going to be some happy-go-lucky person, are you? You're not just going to completely forget about it within 2 years. No way. So, like I said, I love how Rob Zombie deals with the PTSD and the trauma inside this film. It's one of its strong points, definitely. Like I mentioned before, Loomis has got an ego inside this film. He's not the same Loomis from the other films. He's just a prick. He's a prick to everyone around him. But eventually he realizes, you know, oh shit, this is part of what I created. I'm responsible for this in a way. So he goes to try and stop Michael, and eventually, you know, he pays for it, his life. Because we never got a sequel to this film, but it's pretty apparent that Loomis died because, like I said before, his brain is half showing. It's crazy. We've also got Annie, who's played by Daniel Harris again. In the original, obviously, Annie dies and she don't make it to the sequel, which is good about this, that we get more Daniel Harris. But she don't really do much inside this film. She pretty much, you know, she stays at home. Like I said, her, Laurie, and Sheriff Brackett are all living together. She's pretty much just always at home. I guess it's her way of dealing with it in a way. Laurie seems more like, you know, outgoing, whereas Annie's just staying at home most of the time. And like I said, her death is one of the most emotional side of this series, no doubt about it, man. Which leads us to Sheriff Brackett, who's played by Brad Dourif, an amazing actor, an amazing acting inside this film, like I mentioned, man. You really feel it when his daughter dies, and the anger that he's got, And you just feel for the guy, man. Like I said, it's one of the most emotional deaths inside the series, man, no doubt. And the acting is just so good, so good. Let's just quickly talk about the kills as well. We've got the coroner workers at the beginning. Like, I love what's his name, Richard Brake. He's like, cow! And they crash into a cow. And Michael wakes up and he just gets a piece of glass and he slices the guy's head off with it. It is brutal. And it's inside the hospital, it's brutal as well. Like, he slashes someone's eyeballs out. He stabs the hospital worker at least 50 fucking times. Avengers Sevenfold reference right there. But he's so brutal inside this film, man. You got the landowners as well. Like I said, he slices their eyes, he impales one of them, and he just drags the girl along while stabbing her multiple times, man. It is so brutal. And when we get to the strip club as well, that is brutal. The head stomp on that guy outside, man. Oh my days. And he comes back in with the girl. Like I said, she rips his mask off, like part of it. So he gets head and he keeps smashing it inside the wall, the glass. It's one of the most brutal kills I've ever seen, no doubt. And like I said, Michael is so brutal inside this film. And finally, the mask, like I said, it gets ripped. And when you do see him with the mask inside this film, it's good. But one of the problems I have, he's just walking around quite a lot without the mask on, which, you know. But the mask is good. Like I mentioned inside the last review, Rob Zombie did this sort of like, you know, scarred look, like, you know, aged look of the mask before Halloween 2018. But you can debate which one looks better. But I do, you know, you got to give Rob Zombie credit. He did do it first. But overall thoughts, I actually do like this film quite a lot. Like, I think it gets just hated for no reason, to be honest. Like, obviously, if you're expecting a typical Halloween film, this is not the same thing. But you've got to admit, Rob Zombie did something original here, man. How many times can we just see Michael do the same thing over and over? He tried some stuff worked, some stuff didn't. Like the White Horse, like I said. Michael going around without the mask, I could do without. Inside the director's cut, he actually speaks. He says, die to Loomis, which, you know, I watched the theatrical cut for this, but still. The White Horse, like I said, the runtime as well. I feel like the film, what is it, an hour and 45 minutes? It's a bit too long. It does drag at times. But apart from that, I like everything else. I love the characters, the building, the atmosphere. Even the soundtrack's pretty good, apart from the Halloween theme not being decided, but mainly the acting and the story. Like, this is something you could sink your teeth into, this, man. This isn't just, you know, a bare bones slasher sequel. It's got something to say as well, and it deals with trauma and PTSD and everything. The other series don't even do that. Like, look at Halloween 4 to 5, it's a year gap, and the characters like Rachel, it's badly written. She's just completely moved on. But anyway, I'm going to give this film a 7.5 out of 10. Let me know yours down inside the comments down below, because I'm sure a lot of people hate this film, but it's a few people who like it, and you know, we all have our own opinions, don't we? Next week I'll be reviewing Halloween 2018, the final film, and then finally Halloween Kills is going to be out. Can't wait for that, man. But until next time, click like and subscribe. I really appreciate it. Stay safe in a bit.